The National Collegiate Athletic Association, also known as the NCAA, largely regulates intercollegiate athletics for 1,281 institutions, conferences, and organizations, as well as athletic scholarships. Chapter 2 of Introduction to Intercollegiate Athletics states that in 1973, the NCAA adopted a three-division setup of Division 1, 2, and 3 schools. Divisions 1 and 2 offer scholarships to athletes playing a sport, while Division 3 does not offer athletic scholarships. Most of the money for athletic scholarships goes to Division I institutions because they are the ones generating most of the money. The NCAA allocates more than $2.4 billion to schools to fund athletic scholarships. In addition to this, the NCAA awards more than $10 million in scholarships and grants annually to student athletes and member institutions. Division 1 and 2 schools provide $2.7 billion in athletic scholarships annually to more than 150,000 student athletes. The number of scholarships given to each school is calculated by the number of sports and athletes in each institution. Here at UC Riverside, the Intercollegiate Athletics program features 17 sports competing at the NCAA Division I level. UCR offers a variety of athletic scholarships to offset college costs. There are 22 available athletic scholarships offered for continuing undergraduate students. These scholarships vary from men's and women's basketball, soccer, cross country, golf, tennis, track and field, to scholarships granted by community members. College athletes without a scholarship that play on a team that offers scholarships are generally referred to as walk-ons. The term walk-on is used in sports, particularly American college athletics, to describe an athlete who becomes part of a team without being actively recruited beforehand or awarded an athletic scholarship. This results in the differentiation between walk-on players and scholarship players. Scholarship athletes are those that have been granted some form of financial aid to play for the sport. The NCAA has adopted amateurism rules to ensure the student's priority remains on obtaining a quality educational experience and that all of student athletes are competing equitably. Since student athletes are considered amateurs, they are not allowed to get paid for playing a sport, but they can receive scholarships which may cover housing, board tuition, or books.
There's an old stereotype that walk-ons are not as significantly recognized as their scholarship-recruited teammates. Many would argue that these walk-ons are not as recognized for their athletic talents and contribution to their sport. However, this stereotype is far from reality. During the recruiting process, coaches recruit walk-ons just as much as scholarship athletes. However, getting recruited doesn't necessarily mean you'll receive an academic scholarship or athletic scholarship. Student athletes at the University of California, Riverside with scholarships, however, do not receive special treatment or more positive motivation within their sport than walk-ons because walk-ons have just as much of an opportunity to obtain scholarships themselves.
Contrary to the stereotype around the treatment of athletes with scholarships versus the treatment of athletes who walk on, here at UCR we have learned that the stigma differs between campuses based on the campus climate. Based on our interviews, athletes at UCR do not feel they get special treatment regardless of their scholarship status. Walk-on athletes aren't treated differently than players on scholarship but are treated just as well. The differences amongst athletes recruited and those who walk on is their love for the game they play. For example, walk-ons love every second of the sport they play, otherwise they would not do it. The fact that they are not guaranteed scholarship assistance reaffirms that athletes who walked onto a team play for the love of their sport. In contrast, being that recruited athletes are on scholarship, many times it is said that not all scholarship recruits play because they love it. There are several scholarship athletes who play and pursue athletics because it pays tuition and may not be able to afford an education otherwise. While the argument that most walk-ons are financially stable has validity, there are still several walk-on athletes who play in the pursuit of earning a scholarship.
When asked the question if you think coaches treat student athletes with athletic scholarships differently than those who don't receive scholarships, Anna Tlotanich, a third year who plays for the UCR women's tennis team, answered with this. For the past 2 years, I was on the tennis team without a scholarship. At first, I didn't really know who was receiving scholarships. I saw no difference in treatment between any of us. Coach was very supportive of every team member without giving any special treatment. If a teammate made a mistake, everyone was treated equally. Your progress was noted and no one got any extra privileges. Coach cares about every single one of us equally. Coach is honestly the coolest man ever. He is very nice and very supportive.
Financial opportunities can be a determining factor among students in their decisions and abilities to participate in sports. Coaches take this into consideration when distributing scholarship money. Some athletes many times receive scholarships because they are least financially capable of pursuing school or sports without financial aid or scholarships, while walk-ons might have more accessibility to pursue college without the need for scholarship aid. Brandon Tishimoto mentions that prior to attending UC Riverside, he was told he could play as a walk-on as long as his parents could afford to pay his tuition and sports equipment, because coaches had no more scholarships to offer. Coaches have the power to grant or revoke scholarships, along with deciding how much aid a student-athlete receives. Some factors that coaches look at when deciding how much a student receives is if the student actually needs the money. Two athletes can be equally as good in the position they play, but if one is less financially stable than the other, the coaches might decide to give the scholarship to the less financially fortunate. But this doesn't necessarily mean that coaches treat both athletes differently.
My name is Brandon Tishimoto. I'm on the UC Riverside golf team. I'm a third year. We're Division I, and I've been playing golf since I was 5, about 15 years.
And how long have you been playing at UCR?
I'm playing for the past 3 years since my freshman year.
Okay. Did you play with an athletic scholarship?
Not my first 2 years. I just received one after last year's season. My first 2 years, I was technically a walk-on. I came into the school as an official walk-on, but I had a spot on the team. And then I got a scholarship after my performance the past 2 years last year.
Would you say that coaches don't treat athletes differently based upon what scholarships they have?
No, I mean, I feel like some coaches do, other coaches don't. It just depends on the coach. Like there's some coaches that'll really push a certain player to do well in either a tournament or take him to a certain tournament or take him on the traveling team because he sort of wants to have him prove himself or just validate like this is why you're getting this money, and sort of wants him to prove himself. But at the same time, there's a lot of coaches that just don't really care and just at the end of the year it's like, yeah, you did well, here, I'll give you some more. But
Walk-ons have an equal opportunity to receive financial assistance from their respective programs as long as they're in compliance with their eligibility requirements. After that, it is a matter of whether they get chosen from their coach. Preferred walk-ons are in a better place to earn a scholarship, but it normally does not happen until a player's junior year. That's because giving a walk-on a scholarship after his freshman year still uses one of the 25 initial scholarships for that year. A player has to be on the team for 2 full years before they can get a scholarship. That way it doesn't count as an incoming student scholarship. Walk-ons also get an opportunity to receive a scholarship if they push themselves hard enough. A lot of times, if scholarships are available, walk-ons will get granted financial assistance if they have proven their skills and dedication to helping their respective team. Although financial stability is important to provide the cost it takes to play collegiate sports, it is not the number one priority for coaches. Coaches are more invested in their team working together to win, rather than motivating those who are on scholarships. Coaches treat walk-ons just as equal as scholarship athletes because their goal is to unite the team and perform well in their sport. It hurts the team rather than helps if the coach is being biased. There are also plenty of athletes who join the team as a walk-on, make a name for themselves, and become stars. After our research and interviews with student athletes, we concluded that although there is a large stigma about scholarship athletes being treated differently at several universities across the nation, this does not necessarily pertain to the student athletes here at UCR.